So hello everyone. So we are here live today on DAM series channel on YouTube to help you formulate the final strategy for the NEET PG exam. And we have now seen that the Supreme Court has recently announced that the exam will happen as per slated date on 21st May. So that leaves us with exact 7 days for our final push of preparation. First of all, I would request, and with my folded hands, I would request all my students, all our pure dear medical students, to not panic. This is the time to hold on to your mental health, hold on to your dreams that you have had for years. So please stay positive. I want you to stay positive right now, and also look at what you can do in the final 7 days which can make a meaningful impact in the exam, which can make a significant change in your ranks. So that is our idea, and that is what we thought we would come live. Our goal is to give you some common sense advices, but not only that, we also want to push some positivity from our side. I want you to again say that in today's world, if you have been following me on YouTube or any other channel, you will find I'll keep telling this, that in today's world the pace of change has accelerated because of the multiple factors that have been happening in the last 2 years. Change was always there, but in the last 2 years it is happening at a very fast pace. And what happens is it has added an element of uncertainty into everything that is happening around us, including exams. And all that uncertainty takes a toll on, it causes us to, have that anxiety and stress onto us, and that affects the performance. So first of all, I would want you to take a deep breath and detach yourself from the outcome, detach yourself from whatever may happen. I am telling you today, whatever may happen in the exam, you are already a successful person. Not everybody becomes a doctor. You are already a successful person. You have done very well so far in life, and there is no reason that you would not be successful later in life. So have that positivity that you are going to win it irrespective of whatever happens. Then we will gradually bring on the common sense to it. I'll ask Dr. Deepti to add a few lines here before we start telling you the strategy for the 7 days.
Right. So hi everyone, and we've been getting a lot of messages, and we've been answering personally as well to all those messages. But there are some things that we definitely want to put across. So I know most of you are feeling anxious at this time. So let me reassure you that feeling anxious before exam is a very, very natural thing. You are not alone in it. Everyone feels that way close to an exam. Yes, be it a student who's been doing very well all throughout, be it someone who thinks or considers themselves as average, whatever you might think of yourself, but this is a very, very natural response when you are nearing an exam. So you are not alone in it. Every one of you is facing these circumstances. So the first thing you have to tell yourself is that, okay, the exam is here, I am feeling anxious, it is natural. You have to calm yourself down, and you have to tell yourself that no matter what, I will not let this anxiety affect my performance. Yes, please see this exam as an opportunity. Don't think कि exam आपको fail करने के लिए बना है, बिल्कुल भी नहीं. Exam is created to bring opportunity to your doorstep, and consider it like that, just as an opportunity. उससे ज़्यादा उसके बारे में मत सोचो, right? So it's not your life, it is one part of your life. I know when you are in the current situation, it feels this is life. But when you look back, you've given exams in 10th standard, you've given exams in 12th standard, you're already MBBS graduates, you've given NEET UG. So, it runs in your system, okay? So, please do not get overwhelmed by the fact that the exam is here. Only take it as an opportunity, and as Dr. Sumer said, detach yourself from the outcome. मैं सब बच्चों को ये बोलूँगी that whenever fear gropes you, you have to tell yourself, नहीं कोई बात नहीं, I have done my best so far and I will do my best in the exam as well. Rest, let it be. Okay, what is in your hands is only to be mentally prepared for it, to work hard, and that you have done. What would be the outcome? Let's detach ourselves from it. उसको बिना सोचे हम अब ये 7 दिन रहेंगे, because you know I feel your पीस ऑफ माइंड इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. नहीं तो क्या होता है ना, जो मेहनत करी भी है उसके हिसाब से भी आप परफॉर्म नहीं कर पाओगे. सो यू नो लास्ट के 7 डेज से कोई बहुत फ़र्क नहीं पड़ता है. सो जस्ट काम योर सेल्फ डाउन. आप मेहनत शुरू से कर रहे हो एंड दैट इज़ वॉट काउंट्स. अभी क्या काउंट करता है? हाउ काम यू आर, हाउ इफेक्टिवली यू आर एबल टू यूज दीज लास्ट 7 डेज. सो इन ऑर्डर टू डू दैट we must come to terms of number 1, it is accepting the fact that the exam is here. Yes. Number 2, accepting the fact that you have worked hard and you have given your best. And number 3, that I'm not going to think about what if. There are so many ifs and buts, right? If we give so much space to negative thoughts, then they'll never let your mind work on it. ठीक है? So इसीलिए whenever a negative thought comes to you, अभी मैंने social media पे भी share किया है that whenever a negative thought comes to your mind, what you have to think is, number 1, what was your dream and why did you start in the first place? Okay, so this is what we want to say. Calm down, relax. These are all natural responses. Fear, anxiety, fear of not doing well. Okay, ऐसा लगता है सब भूल रहा है, कुछ भी याद नहीं है. बट बिलीव मी, योर ब्रेन हैज़ अ लॉट ऑफ पावर एंड इट इज़ ऑल देयर इन योर सबकॉन्शियस, एंड वेन एवर रिक्वायर्ड इट विल सर्फेस अप. ओके, येस इट विल. ओके, लेट मी रीअश्योर यू, जब जरूरत पड़ेगी याद आएगा, ज़रूर आएगा. ठीक है.
And I think a very, very important thing that I wanted to add here is that there is important things will happen in this week. Not only your exam, you will also have INI CET results. So now what happens is, I want you to know that INI CET is a different exam from NEET PG. They have conducted and curated by different boards. INI CET is made by institutes of national importance like AIIMS, JIPMER, PGI Chandigarh, and that is reflected in the depth of the choices. Not only the questions, I'm sure you must have seen, I have already done a detailed analysis of the INI CET this year's paper on the YouTube channel, and you will see the key word there was depth of the choices. Yeah. While NEET PG is a separate exam conducted by a separate board, and it is intended for a much wider audience. It is given by the maximum amount of candidates across the country, which amounts to around 2 lakh actually. So it has a different set of questions and a different style of paper, and it would not directly correlate with your INI CET performance. So first of all, tell yourself, मेरा INI CET अच्छा हुआ या खराब हुआ कोई बात नहीं, मैं NEET PG में अच्छा चांस रखता हूँ. Irrespective of my performance in INI CET, you have a good chance in the NEET PG exam. Second thing is, don't let any result impact you for your future. So it's very important when the result is declared, be there with your family and friends. There should be people who support you, people who love you irrespective, and people will continue loving you irrespective of your ranks. So rank is just a number. It is not going to define what you are and what you can become. So have that faith in your own self. Stay positive. Now my question is, what to do in the final 7 days that can make a big impact? So number one thing that I want you to do is that stop thinking that you will be able to revise all the subjects, all that you have done in your life into final 7 days. सारा नहीं revise हो पाता क्योंकि MBBS curriculum बड़ा है. It is impossible to revise everything in a matter of 7 days. But you can actually look at high yield of every subject in 7 days. This is one of the reasons why DAMS started conducting DVT. When we started conducting DAMS DVT, it was an answer to a question that many students used to ask me, what to do in the final 7 days. Yeah. Now it has become so simple for me. I keep telling that, okay, I keep telling the teachers that in the DVT, please teach the students the topics that you feel are most high yield and which can be done in the final 7 days. So DVT is a good resource to revise, and this year we went a step further. In DVT, we did those brainstorming sessions in which we have also discussed the PYQ, previous year questions of the NEET PG exam. So if you are looking at any exam, it is always a good idea in the final week to look at the previous 3 years or 4 years of papers to get an idea on, okay, this is what is going on in this paper, this is the style and frame of this exam. Second thing is you need to know that how that paper feels like in terms of length of the question and the the time management, etc. But important thing is it's an exam. It would have the element of uncertainty, so don't get panic if they do a little bit here and there, but it is at the end of the day same for everybody. More important thing is, am I revising the high yield topics in the final 7 days, and am I looking at the previous year questions? That is regarding the content part.
All right. So, as Dr. Sumer said, trying to do what is more likely to come in the exam in these last 7 days. Yes. Now, DVT sir has already talked about, so I won't repeat. The second thing that I would advise all of you, and I've been answering that in the personal mentorship queries that we're getting on WhatsApp as well, is that please go through the topics that we have covered in the last 3 CBTs. So the last 3 CBTs that DAMS has done, including the NEET mock that we just did for 3 live days, these CBTs and NEET mock are based on PYQs. So we will take care, we'll see last 5-6 year questions, frame questions for you. So whatever topics we have put in these 3 CBTs and plus 1 NEET mock exam, those topics you can definitely go and revise from your notes. I'm teaching you how to select which topics to give preference to, where to put your energy on, right? So this is definitely something that I want to say, apart from DVT, what you can do. And one more thing, and I'm sure then Dr. Sumer will talk about MCQ as well. One more thing that I want you to add in case you've made it is your wrong diary. So if you have made a wrong diary or some kind of a notebook where you have put down some high yielding points for yourself, this is also a good time to incorporate those wrong diaries as well. So these 3 things will ensure, that is DVT, last 3 CBTs and 1 NEET mock, and your wrong diary. These 3 things will ensure A, you are doing things which have high probability of being asked, B, you are covering previously asked topics, C, you are covering your weak zone. So it sort of covers 360 degrees what you need to do in the last 7 days. Okay.
Now, let me answer a few questions. Number 1, I see a lot of students have asked, sir, what about PYQs? So, in the DAMS DVT 2022, at the end of every session, there was a brainstorming session where previous year NEETPG questions have been discussed in a very rapid manner. So, that can be done, and previous year questions are also given in eMedico's app in a course called as PPE kit. So, that is the resource that you can look at. And one bacha has asked, sir, where is DVT? It is available on the eMedico's app. And another bacha has asked, sir, between fast track TND and DVT, what should be preferred in the final phase? In the last 7 days, DVT would have less number of hours and more compact material. So when we create courses, when we curate them in DAMS, before we make a course, we do a planning on what to include, what not to include, how many hours to devote to it. DVT has been curated for the final 7 days. This is the philosophy behind DVT for so many years. That is why you might have heard your seniors also talk about DVT, because it is the final 7-day product to be revised in the end. And even more important than this, I have another suggestion for you. What goes wrong on the day of the exam is that many people, they are unable to concentrate at their topmost level during those 3.5 hours. Now, you have to perform to the best possible manner in those 3.5 hours. But many times, because of our, concentration levels falling, because of, our consumption of rapidly available, entertainment sources like television, YouTube, Instagram, we keep scrolling. So, our brain is attuned to smaller lengths of concentration. Exam is asking you to concentrate and perform at your optimum those 3.5 hours. So there is a role and a very important message to build up your stamina for the exam. Not physical stamina, you are not going to run there, but mental stamina. So my advice to you is, please give 1 grand test every 3 days. If you can give 3 GTs in the final week, Don't bother about the analysis so far. In the final phase, अभी उतना गलतियों को एनालाइज करके उनको देखने का टाइम नहीं है, अभी स्टेमिना बिल्ड करने का टाइम है. डोंट लेट एनी रैंक डिप्रेस यू कि मॉक टेस्ट में रैंक पीछे आ गया, कोई बात नहीं. Important thing is giving the test, and the purpose of the test is time management, learning to focus, building up the stamina for the final phase. I know, and I have interviewed on this channel for last 22 years so many toppers, so many INI toppers, so many NEET PG toppers. Each one of them in the final week was giving tests. It is very important. When you give tests, you build your stamina to think. So if I again, the final strategy for the final 7 days has to be a mixture of going through the high yield topics, so that if something high yield is asked, it should be in your top of your memory compartments. It should be immediately recalled. Previous year questions, very important, because if it is repeated, you should be spending a fraction of second to solve it. Number 3 is building up your stamina, building up your exam skill. Learn to hit it. Also, this is the right time to change your sleep wake cycle in accordance to the exam, so that you are on your best zone mentally. As far as your sleep wake cycle, you should be in your maximum wakefulness in this most important exam of your life. It's so important. So you can't be sleeping on that day. So try to do that right now within these 7 days. I keep seeing a question that a lot of students keep asking कि sir मेरा INI CET अच्छा नहीं हुआ, अब क्या करूँ? So my answer to you is, we cannot roll back clock. We cannot go back in time. अगर जा सकते तो वो जो silly mistake हुई ना ठीक कर देते, लेकिन आगे का सोचना है. Can I be better than what I was in my previous exam? Can I make less mistakes this time? Can I be more positive this time? Can I play a more attacking game? So my message to you for the final phase is that it is important to detach yourself from past mistakes and detach yourself from the outcome. Focus on what you can do, how to make that enthusiasm in the final 7 days. I'll ask Dr. Deepti to add on, but one more line from my side here is that when the final 7 days, it also becomes difficult to sleep because of the anxiety and pure mental activity that is happening the entire day. Please keep a small slot in a day for some physical activity. It could be jogging, it could be walking, but it has to be physical. At that half an hour will recharge you and also help you to sleep better. All these tiny things will help you to think clearly on the day of the exam. On the day of the exam that really matters, you should have clear thinking. It should not be clouded by tiredness or lack of sleep in the last week. It should be clear, and that is will help you to make the final decision between choice A or B. That is one of my suggestions. I asked Dr. Deepti to add on.
Right. So we are having a lot of queries in the chat box. We'll answer them one by one. We'll answer about the exam strategy on the day as well. We'll talk about everything gradually. But Abhi, since we were talking about what exactly you could do in the last 1 week, we have talked about the resources. Sir has also talked about giving grand tests, right? So 2 to 3 grand tests in this week gets you into the mode of giving the exam. It prepares your brain to start thinking actively. Now, what I would also ask or tell rather, some of you are wanting to know, should we revise notes? So we started with that in the beginning itself, that bache, abhi it's not possible to revise all notes of all 19 subjects. Don't give yourself targets which are unachievable. So you have to go selective, and we have already in the beginning of the session told you how to go selective, right? Revise some topics. The second thing, some of you are asking, should we leave some subjects now and revise other? So I would definitely say a big no to that. See, exam mein sare subjects aane hain. So rather than doing a skewed preparation and doing something and leaving others is not a good idea. So that is why we suggested go through DVT and go through the previous 3 CBTs and mock exam topics. This will ensure कि आप सारे subjects को थोड़ा importance दे रहे हो और उन topics को दे रहे हो which have high likelihood to be asked. The third thing that I want to tell you is, what should you do in a day? So suppose you have planned that you will study 8 hours in a day. I would recommend that maybe what you can do is that 60% of this time you should be spending on revising actively. Okay, retrograde manner में revise actively the topics which have high probability, and 40% of time should be spent on solving MCQs. It could be in the form of a grand test, it could be in the form of repeating your TND paper, it could be in the form of repeating your fast track TND paper. You have the resources with you, उनको यूज़ करो. ये हाई yielding है बहुत ज़्यादा, and they will give you confidence as well rather than doing something new, है ना. So 60-40 रेशियो में आप you should be doing both the things every day, notes as well as MCQs, to strike a balance, to ensure कि हम सिर्फ passive reading of notes ना कर रहे हो, but we have to put our brain to use as well, especially when we see options, because it is the options that are going to confuse us. ठीक है, we will talk about the exam skill as we go forward.
Now, I see one question in the chat box which I want to address immediately is, a lot of students keep saying, sir, मुझे कुछ याद ही नहीं आ रहा, मुझे सब भूल गया. So, I want you to understand what is really happening. Whenever we are studying and at the postgraduate level, this is not a school exam, this is not at the level of class 10th or 12th, this is a postgraduate level exam. In such an exam, what you know is not only memory, it is also understanding. And probably understanding is far more than the memory component. Although you will see a lot of people will be telling ye mnemonic yaad kar le, wo yaad kar le. I don't believe that is not medical science. That really doesn't work in the real exams. Real exams are based on understanding, and understanding is stored in your subconscious. Memory is stored in your conscious. So whatever you will be revising in your last week is on your top of the line for memory, but whatever you have understood over the years is there in your subconscious. But subconscious is not immediately, in your mind right now. तो ऐसा लग रहा है कि सब भूल चुके हैं, लेकिन जब पूछा जाएगा वापस आ जाएगा. Don't worry. So I want to reassure you, there is a lot of understanding in your subconscious which will come back to you on the day of the exam. I want you to write in the chat box that everything will come back to me in the exam. Have faith. Okay, have faith in your hard work. जो मेहनत की है खराब थोड़ी जाएगी. So let me know in the chat box कि आपने जो भी सीखा वापस आएगा एग्जाम के अंदर. So if you've understood clearly, it will come back. Second thing I thought I should tell you is that on the day of the exam, it has to be a good exam skill, which would include multiple subdomains, which we will talk about right now. Number one is time management. I saw in this year's INI-CT exam, although the questions were not long, actually they were one-liners, but the choices were asking you to think, and you had to think in every choice. There were things like match the following, arrange in sequence, and it was taking time. So if I'm able to manage my time well, I will have an edge over others who are struggling with times. So what should you do in the exam? Make every half an hour target. For example, if in a period of 3.5 hours, let's we have to do 200 questions. So in 3 hours, if we target 200 and keep half an hour for revision, etc. So then it comes to maybe around 35 questions every half an hour. So if you do around 35 questions every half an hour as a target, this is a fair enough target to manage the time. So don't wait for the end. मतलब वो वाली गलती नहीं करनी जो एग्जाम में होता था कि एग्जाम में जब टीचर घंटी बजाती थी, लास्ट 5 मिनट रह गए, तभी अरे अब क्या करूं, हर आधे घंटे में चेक करना है. So it has to be checked every half an hour, and you should look at first half an hour, am I at around 35? Second half an hour, am I around 70? Third, am I around 105? Then so every half an hour you need to recheck and titrate your speed. If you do this, you will never go wrong in time management. Number two is that if I see some students are asking that how to manage the DVT, or they have already listened to the videos. To help you in DAMS DVT, we have added PDF, which can be rapidly read and reviewed. So in DAMS DVT 2022, there is a PDF added for your rapid review of notes also. And second thing is aggressiveness or defensiveness. Now try to understand, should I go very aggressive on the day of the exam? Aggressive means that I'm trying to find answers in questions even if I don't know them, and defensive means that I am leaving questions even at the slightest doubt. Now whenever you are giving your NEET PG exam, I want you to feel the paper. When you are giving the exam, you will have a feeling कि यार ये तो आसान लग रहा है, or you will have a feeling ये तो मुश्किल लग रहा है. It depends on different paper. It could be very easy, it could be tough. But when you feel the exam on the day of the exam, it feels it's like a really easy paper. Then go aggressive on it, because it is easy not only for you, it is easy for everybody. And if you leave too many questions, your rank will be pulled down. However, if it is a difficult paper, like we saw this INI-CET paper was moderate to tough. So if it's a difficult paper and you think there are things that you have never heard of, hold back, because you don't want to make blind guesses, because in a difficult paper, it is the silly mistakes which will count more. In a easier paper, you will have to get maximum runs on the board. So this will how you will titrate. I know even after my telling you this, although this is the most critical aspect of getting the rank, you may still not be able to follow it. So practice it. That is why I said give a GT every 3 days, give 2-3 GTs, give one GT with a more aggressive mode, one with a more defensive mode, and try to titrate your exam skills so that on the day of the exam you know what you are going to do if you encounter a certain kind of exam. And beware of the devils of overthinking and underthinking. If anything was taught to you in your DAMS class, you have made your notes, it was there in your class, don't overthink it. Try and understand. देखो कभी कभी आप जब एग्जाम में क्वेश्चन कर रहे होगे, क्वेश्चन को देख के लगेगा अरे ये तो सर ने बताया था, एंड देन mark the answer with your first instinct. उसको mark for review मत करो, because if you mark for review you overthink and you do change the answer to a wrong answer. So if it's a direct question from your notes, from your previous year questions, from your DVT, from your final revision, please do it with your first instinct. However, if it is a indirect question, like a question with choices which is not directly in the notes but the concept is there, but you have to think about it. So if you have to think about it, and you think that if I spend more time, I will be able to do better, you can mark such question for review. In NEET PG, when you mark questions for review, even if you don't save, they are saved. But please read the instructions on the day of the exam. We have seen in the past in NEET UG also, once or twice the government changed the rules on the day of the paper. So on the day of the exam, please read the instructions again. And I asked Dr. Deepti to add something about the skill.
Okay, so some of you have been persistently asking about the PYQs. So let me just guide you on that. Number one is, as we said, DVT itself, this year we did a session at the end of every subject, every session where we discussed or rapidly discussed the PYQs. Okay, so that is one thing. Second, if you want to do PYQs separately, there is a resource on eMedicos which is called as PPE kit, which already has almost 4 to 5 years previous year NEET PG papers. Go through that. Third thing you were asking, do we need to do INI-CET PYQ? So I would say no at this time. Just जो भी आपने INI से पहले किया वो enough है. Don't go and now again repeat the INI PYQs. It is not required. The fourth thing that I want to say about PYQs is, कई बार आपको लगता है कि question ऐसे का ऐसे आ जाएगा. Okay, that probability is a little less. Yes, out of 200 questions, maybe 2-3 questions are repeated as it is, but direct repeats, which are large number, is unlikely. So when we say go through PYQs, it primarily means, yes, know the answers to those questions, but it is a good idea to know those topics from your notes. Okay, so it is whatever you are seeing. If you feel that you're not very strong with this topic, just quickly go back to your notes and read that topic from your notes in a rapid way. देखो इस वक्त whatever reading has to be done has to be rapid. Rapid fast readings at the end are more useful rather than you saying कि no I'm trying to be thorough, I will spend hours on one topic. No बच्चे, वो नहीं करना है. सिर्फ वही टॉपिक देखेंगे और रैपिडली देखेंगे. Fifth thing that I want to say, if you have already seen the videos of the PYQs, because in DAMS we also give video discussions, you don't need to see the videos again at this time. Dobara, I totally am not in favor of doing any kind of videos close to the exam. You should be more self-reliant at this time. try and do things which can be done in a faster mode. But yes, it can vary from one person to another because we are different individuals. We may have different requirements as well. So, but अगर आपने एक बार देखे हुए हैं, you don't have to repeat them now. It's a good idea to go through just the question answer and those topics from the notes, because that will make your process faster and you will be able to do more subjects. समझ रहे हो मेरी बात? अगर आप सब कुछ सारे वीडियोस दोबारा देखने की कोशिश करोगे बेटा, तो वो बहुत skewed preparation हो जाएगा, right? Because see, ऑब्स एंड गाइनी में बहुत क्वेश्चंस आते हैं, तो उसके वीडियोस लंबे होंगे, मगर हो सकता है आपका ऑब्स एंड गाइनी स्ट्रॉन्ग है एंड मे बी यू नीड टू रिकॉल सम ऑफ द शॉर्ट सब्जेक्ट्स. So this is the reason why I say that this is how you should do as far as PYQs are concerned. Now, also since Sir was talking about exam skill, he's already covered some important points with respect to review options, with respect to going aggressive and going defensive. Now, when we talk about going aggressive and going defensive, looking at the current trend of the papers, you will see questions which are doable. It is only the options which will confuse you. So वो तब होता है when you overthink. So this is something that I really want to tell you. Suppose you are able to easily rule out two options, beta, and now you are confused between two. But within these two options, you should always go with your first instinct rather than thinking a lot, because कभी-कभी ना बहुत basic चीज़ों से उसका आंसर निकल आता है, लेकिन जब आप when you overthink, तो आप सोचते हो नहीं हो सकता है एग्जामिनर ये ना पूछना चाह रहा हो, ये भी तो हो सकता है, वो भी तो हो. You yourself start putting words into the MCQ. So when you are confused between two options, especially if it's a common topic, but yeah, the options are close by, I would say go with your first instinct. Do not overthink. But on the other hand, if it is a clinical sort of a question which has fragmented options, fragmented information, then yes, you should think a little. Put those options together, put the keywords together, read the last line again, and then answer it. Also, with respect to aggressive defensive, please, मेरी हाथ जोड़ के request है, don't change answers. Okay, keep it to as minimum as possible. अगर आपने एक बार एक आंसर लगा दिया है, yes, उसके बाद ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि 50 के मैंने, because I have time, I've changed 50 answers or 20 answers. Don't do that. Okay. As I said, usually the first instinct, your gut instinct, is not actually from the gut, it's from your brain. Okay, and it is because of multiple connections that you have already formed in your brain, and it comes as a spark. But when you start thinking, everything seems right, because there could be so many scenarios where one thing can become a better option than the other. So those are the few things that I would want to highlight, especially with respect to aggressive, defensive, and so on. As far as number of correct, how many questions should you attempt? I feel मिनिमम कोई पूछा था मैम मिनिमम बता दो, मिनिमम भी मुझे लगता है 160 170 आपको करने चाहिए. हायर, if it's a moderate paper, which means not very tough, not very easy, please go aggressive. If it's easy, definitely go aggressive, right? मगर बहुत कम attempt करने से आपको ऐसा लगता है कि आपके negative कम होंगे. Usually you will still land up doing some negatives. It's a natural thing. Even if I go in your place to give the exam, I will also do mistakes, probably even in obs and gynae. Okay? So it's a very natural thing that because of the surrounding circumstances, I might land up doing certain mistakes. We are not perfect, and we learn by doing mistakes. Okay? So those are the few things that I want to highlight. I will just hand over it to Dr. Sumer now.
Now, important thing is that I see a lot of students in the chat box have asked about silly mistakes. So I think we have already highlighted that silly mistakes happen because we overthink or underthink. So we've already highlighted that part, that don't overthink on straight questions and don't underthink on questions which are tricky. That's very important. Second is that don't forget to look at the high yield topics in the last week. That is why we are recommending DVT and the previous year questions, because if something is asked recently or it was discussed in your DVT, and if you get it wrong, then you will classify it as a silly mistake later on. So it is important to do a quick revision of high yield topics. Yeah. And thirdly, if it is an image based question, please look at the choices first, then look at the image, so that your mind is not thinking unnecessary stuff. It is trying to focus on finding the answers in the question. So silly mistakes happen because of lack of revision of high yield topics, lack of looking at the previous year questions, overthinking on the day of the exam, underthinking on the day of the exam, or not approaching the image based question properly. So these are the reasons why it would happen. And you have already been giving papers. I know many of you, I have been talking to many of you, and I know that you are working hard. मैं ना एक ही चीज़ यहाँ पे कहना चाहता हूँ जो मुझे लगता है इम्पॉर्टेंट है, वो ये कि when we are in this phase of life, बार बार it would feel कि नहीं कर पाऊँगा, नहीं हो पाएगा, टाइम कम है, क्या करूँ. This is the kind of time where I want you to put a bet on yourself and say the reverse. Can you say it with me in the chat box कि मैं कर पाऊँगा, I will be able to do it, yes I can do it. Can you say it in the chat box once? तो ये एटीट्यूड को बदलना पड़ेगा. हमें ये सोचना है कि क्या मैं 7 दिन में कर पाऊंगा कि नहीं कर पाऊंगा, से हट के हमने वहां पहुंचना है कि मैं 7 दिन में कर ही लूंगा, चाहे वो 7 दिन दे, 3 दिन दे, 2 दिन दे, 1 दिन दे, मैं फोड़ूंगा. कैन यू से दिस टू योरसेल्फ कि मैं जीतने के लिए बनाऊं. सो आई कीप डूइंग दिस टू माई ओन सेल्फ ऑल्सो. एवरी टाइम आई फाइंड माई सेल्फ पुश टू अ कॉर्नर. नाउ आई फाइंड माई सेल्फ पुश टू अ कॉर्नर वेयर आई थिंक कि अब मैं नहीं जीत पाऊंगा, अब मैं कुछ नहीं कर पाऊंगा. देन आई क्रिएट एक्स्ट्राऑर्डिनरी फोर्स. मैं एक ऐसी फोर्स बनाता हूँ जो कभी कभी डॉक्टर दीप्ति भी परेशान हो जाती है, कहती है कि यार बहुत हो गया, अब बस कर. मैं एक मतलब आई क्रिएट एनर्जी, आई एम लाइक कि नहीं यार अब जीतना है मुझे, एंड आई पुश द वॉल्स अवे फ्रॉम मी. मतलब वो एनर्जी, वो पैशन आपको भी बनाना है. वो कभी कभी क्या होगा, ऐसा लगेगा कि दीवारें हमारे आसपास पास आ गई. इट फील्स लाइक दिस दैट आई एम गेटिंग क्राउडेड. मैं घिर गया हूँ, मैं नहीं जीत पा रहा हूँ, सिलेबस भी बहुत सारा है, टाइम भी नहीं मिल रहा, क्या करूँ, एग्जाम भी पास आ गया, कोई सुन भी नहीं रहा, मैं क्या करूँ. यू नीड टू क्रिएट दैट एनर्जी बैक. मैं जीतने के लिए बनाऊं, मैं फोड़ूंगा, मैं करूंगा. सो यू हैव टू कीप टेलिंग योरसेल्फ दिस, क्योंकि कोई और बताएगा नहीं. ये बहुत जरूरी बात है. मैंने आपको बताया, आप सुनोगे, अभी आप खुश होगे, फिर भूल जाओगे. फिर क्या होगा, जैसे ही मैं जाऊंगा आप खुश होगे, थोड़ी देर पढ़ोगे, कोई दोस्त आएगा कहेगा यार पता नहीं होता तो है नहीं, किसी का नहीं होता, एंड यू स्टार्ट गेटिंग नेगेटिव अगेन. यू हैव टू बिल्ड दैट फायर इनसाइड. चाहे वो बेली में हो या हार्ट में हो, चाहिए फायर. वो आग जो होती है, वो एनर्जी जो है ना, वो आपको इसमें इस लेवल पे आगे लेके जाएगी. सो कैन आई have a promise from your side that you will not let anything around you affect your performance. ये आपके लिए जरूरी है. आपने इसको सपना देखा था, but never forget you are already highly successful. So this exam is not going to define you. ये आप जीतने के लिए आपकी आदत है, उसलिए कर रहे हो, लेकिन आप तो पहले से ही सक्सेसफुल हो. Now let's give 7 more days, push harder, give the best exam of your life, and you should have no regrets after the exam. That is what I feel.
Right. Now talking about stressful environment, a lot of you are talking about stressful environment now and in the examination hall, right? So there are two things that come to my mind when I think of it. हमारे circle में there are some students we know who are very intelligent, yes, who we feel are very intelligent, and we feel that they will get it or they will do very well, yes. And then there is ourselves. Yes, we always see these two sides. हम ऐसा presume करते हैं कि हम तो average हैं, below average हैं, but हमारे सामने वाला बहुत होशियार है, very bright, very intelligent, doesn't have to study, right? But let me tell you one thing, and I have said this previously because I truly believe in it, and I feel whatever I have been able to do in life is because of this belief that I have. If you think you are average or below average, there is a bright side to it. That average students don't know where to stop. Bright students का क्या होता है, थोड़ी देर पढ़ते हैं, बोलते हैं मुझे आता है बस. Average students, okay, जैसे कि मैं अपने आप को मानती हूँ, but you can always convert yourself into a high achiever even being an average. It is not like this. It's just that you have to know about yourself. So one, accept whatever you think about yourself and get over with it. Okay, I'm average, fine, but then what can I do about it? Am I going to sit and cry that I'm average or below average and then I cannot do anything, and should I cry, or should I deal with it and say, okay, I'm average, but if I work hard, okay, if I put all my energy, can't I become or better than that person who's brighter, more intelligent, has higher IQ? Yes, so it's how you perceive your own self. Believe me, whenever somebody used to ask me, Deepti, agar nahi hoga to kya karegi? So I used to tell them, I haven't thought about agar nahi hoga because that's not an option for me. I am going to work hard in a way ki hoga hi hoga. Yes, I have cried at my exam times. I have seen marks which were not worth telling. We have all been through this. आपको ऐसा नहीं लगता, आपको ऐसा अभी लगता है कि पता नहीं कहाँ से आए हैं, ऐसा नहीं है. We are all normal humans. We've all put in a lot of effort to reach where we are, and we will keep doing that. The only thing which I want to tell you today is accept whoever you think you are and come to peace with it, and then don't cry about it. In fact, think of a solution to, overcome it. That is what it is going to be, because we are not perfect. हम सब में कुछ ना कुछ खराब चीज़ें होंगी, कुछ चीज़ें ऐसी होंगी जो हमें अपने बारे में अच्छी नहीं लगती हैं. Fine, it's okay, accept it, and then don't sit in a closed shell with it. Think, how will I break that shell and become better than what I want to be like. So वो सोचेंगे और फिर मेहनत करेंगे. आसपास के लोगों को भूल जाओ. एग्जामिनेशन हॉल में आप हो और एग्जाम का पेपर है. बाकी सब you should be blinded to everything. You should be deaf to everything else. Nothing should be able to come between you and your paper. That is the kind of power your mind has, and you have to create. Aju, baju, left, right, aage, piche, there is some noise, there is disturbance. No, it should all be not, you should not be perceiving all that. Okay, it's just you and your paper. If you get something which you don't know, take a deep breath and say it's okay. It's an exam. I'm not supposed to know everything. Okay, it is said by a person who is more experienced than me. Yes, it's okay. I have to do just my best. So move on to the next question. Every time you feel something is bogging you down, close your eyes for a moment and think it's okay. That's how it is for everyone. Let me attempt the next one with the best of my ability. And believe me, with these easy things, which sound easy, I know it's difficult to practice, but whether you are average, below average, or whatever you label yourself, you will be able to come out of it, because that's what I've done all my life. Okay, so believe me, Dr. Sumer के लिए मैं नहीं कहूँगी because he was very bright, he still is. Okay, but ऐसा नहीं है कि उन्होंने hard work नहीं किया है. So everybody has to do their own kind of hard work. It's just how you accept it and how you work for it. Okay.
Finally, if you at your young age today, if you're angry at something, if you have, gussa hai, anger hai, let's convert all our anger into our power. They buried us, but they forgot that we are seeds. हम उग के वापस बाहर आ जाएंगे. मैं ये कह रहा हूँ कि हम हारने के लिए नहीं बने. अपने आप को बताओ, हम हारेंगे नहीं, हम जीतने के लिए बने. बार बार ये बताओ, so that you can feel those drum beats in your head कि 7 दिन मैंने increase करना momentum, and then you will be able to win big in the exam. Revise करो, seek blessings from your parents. Please spend time with them. Your being busy for the exam is not an excuse to not spend time with your parents. Seek blessings from them. Seek positivity from all around. Study well. You may not be able to do better than everybody else, लेकिन अपना best exam करके आना. That is what we would say as a final message, and we look forward to taking your interview on this side after the exam. And I wish you all the best for both the results. Best of luck. And we forgot to mention that we have created a personal WhatsApp number here, so that because we saw that this year particularly there has been a lot of stress for students, and a lot of students had a lot of query regarding how to study, what to do. So for students we have initiated a personal WhatsApp number which me and Dr. Deepti would be personally answering. We will try our best to do our bit to be do something meaningful in your journey. We wish you all the best. This is the WhatsApp number that you can contact us to.